Hello there, I'm Barry Robinson for Scarborough TV News. We're out and about. It's a lovely day today. We're on the Wetwang to Malton Road and I'm being joined by James Russell. Now, James, you are the chairman of the Yorkshire Wolds Railway. Now, what I want to know is, this is a great place. Tell me all about the Yorkshire Wolds Railway.
Hi Barry. Well, basically we've been running since October 2008 as the Yorkshire Wolds Railway. The idea is to re-establish part of what used to be the Driffield to Malton Railway as a heritage railway and tourist attraction, and when we're open it will actually be the only heritage railway in East Yorkshire. And as you can see on site, we're very far advanced in our plans to develop this site as a visitor centre.
Well, it is in a beautiful setting, but let's go back in time because this used to be a proper railway. That's
right. The railway opened in the mid-19th century. It was part of what was known at the time as the railway mania. People were building railways absolutely everywhere, and this railway was no exception. The initial idea for this railway was that it was going to be an express freight route from Hull to Newcastle. It would be part of that route, and the idea was to allow trains to travel between those two cities without having to go through York, which was becoming a bit of a bottleneck as the railways developed. Unfortunately, the railway, as many railways at the time did, ran into financial difficulties, and so instead of ending up with a nice fast two-track express freight route, you ended up with quite a winding route which had to follow the lay of the land. So much so that actually the nearest that any of the stations are to any of the villages that it serves is in North Grimston, where the station is just outside the village, but all the rest of the stations are actually some distance away from the villages they served, and that's why the line became known as the Malton Dodger, because it dodged all of the villages that it was meant to be at.
So what we've got here is we've got a carriage, a coach, which I think is going to be the visitor centre.
That's right. This is a 1957 British Railways Mark I brake gangway, to give it its official title.
I'm glad you remembered that.
Yeah, so am I. As you can see, it's sitting here on a couple of lengths of track, and the idea is, as you say, this is going to become the visitor centre, so it will be a static display. This isn't going to move anywhere, and inside we're going to set up an exhibition and display about the history of the line and about our own plans for the future. And then behind you we've also got a length of track which we're going to operate as a demonstration line so people can have a ride on our locomotive, which I'm sure we'll have a look at later.
Well, James, here we are inside Eddie the engine, and just explain all about the controls, all these things here.
Sure. Well, I have to say, Barry, I'm no expert, but essentially I'll tell you a bit about the engine itself. This is a 1976 GEC traction locomotive, 040 format. It was built in 76 as one of only three of this design, actually. But the locomotive that we're in, the idea is that once we're open to the public, members of the public will be able to come and either have a ride in the cab as it moves up and down this demonstration line that we have built, or actually have a go at driving it themselves. One of the great things about it is that it has dual controls, and I don't know how well you can see this, but if I move the throttle lever on this side, it also moves on that side as well. So it becomes very easy then to have members of the public on board having a go at driving it, because we can have a properly trained member of staff or volunteer sitting at the other side, able to take over if anything goes wrong.
So how many members of the club are there?
We have just about 200 members of the Yorkshire Wolds Railway, and what we have found is every time that something has happened on site, we see a jump in membership. So when the coach arrived, loads of people joined. When the loco arrived, loads of people joined. And obviously we hope that when we open to the public later this year, the same thing will happen again. If
anybody wants to contact you, what's the best way to go about it?
The easiest way is probably to look us up online. Our website is www.yorkshirewoldsrailway.org.uk, or you can find us on Facebook. If you search for YW Railway, you'll find us on Facebook, and then all our contact details, telephones, email addresses and so on are on our website.
James, as always, it's been a pleasure. Great to talk to you. Thank you very much. I'm Barry Robinson, talking to James Russell, the chairman of the Yorkshire Wolds Railway, for Scarborough TV News.